All right, everybody. I am so excited to be here with Carson. Carson, how are you?
I am, oh my gosh, I'm so happy. I kind of feel freed from the experience now that I can like finally talk about it. I didn't tell my family, I didn't tell my friends. So like they all experienced it with me the first time. And so it was so fun. And like they didn't expect me to get very far at all. And I didn't expect myself to get far either. So like, I'm just so grateful for the experience. It was incredible.
Yeah, well, Carson, so nice to talk to you. Your enthusiasm about the show is infectious. You seem like you were having so much fun out there. And even coming out of the game, you were such a good sport. What was that like for you? Was this just the experience of a lifetime?
Yeah, I left the game with no regrets. I walked into that, I let all the emotions out before and was crying. I literally cried for like an hour with in my interview and then an hour in Jam Jam's arms. So like I let it out and at that point I was like, you know what? I did my best. I couldn't have asked for anything more. I didn't even expect to do this well. So I mean, I walked in and I was like, whatever happens, I'm gonna be proud of myself. If I can just make a spark, I'll be so happy. Because I only made fire twice the entire like 6 hours we were preparing. I couldn't even I like was doing it for hours. So the idea that I even got it compared to like in some sort of a flame compared to the fastest fire ever done by Heidi, whose was incredible. Her fire was up in like 15 seconds. I was just so proud of myself and like I couldn't have asked for anything more. And to have played with people like Carolyn and Jam Jam, who I would have been the diehard fan for if I were just watching it, like it's pretty incredible.
Yeah, you talked a lot about the push and pull of, you were aligned with Helen and Sarah at the start of the game, then ultimately decided to go with Jam Jam and Carolyn. Can you just talk a little bit about what went into that decision for you?
Yeah, it was definitely a mixture of things. I think that Jam Jam and I were very close, and that wasn't shown as much. We started really bonding, and it was such a weird dynamic at Tika at the beginning. We would never go off on our own. I don't know who was the Boston Rob of the group trying to keep us all together all the time, but we were never off the own. Someone goes to water well, everyone goes to water well. So it was like a mess, and we can never have like one-on-one conversations like that conversation with Helen and Sarah that I had in the woods. That was so quick, and that was like the only time we were separated from anybody. And so it was one Jam Jam and I walked to get Tree Mail together. I don't know how we got separated, and that's when we really bonded. And I bonded with him before I even did with Carolyn, and I didn't want to start a relationship with anyone I didn't intend to work with, and make it look as though I'm being phony to Helen and Sarah. And so once Jam Jam and I started talking, it was like, okay, we could really work. And when we met with Carolyn under that tree and hugged it out and we're talking, she hugged me and she was like, "You're so sweet. You remind me of my son." And I said in my head, I remember thinking, I was like, I cannot betray her. I love her. She is so fun. And I like it was just like this feeling. And then also like obviously I knew about Sarah not having a vote and I had to get Jam Jam on board
Sure.
regardless of where I was going. But I really felt connected with them on a fun level. They were just hilarious. The snoring
Yes.
thing, oh my gosh, they're so awesome.
So, okay, we saw the last couple of episodes that Jam Jam had been really considering voting out Carolyn. Even last night when you went on the reward, he was like, should we take out Carolyn? And you seemed like you were very against this idea. How did you convince Jam Jam that this was not the right move to make?
I really put into both of their minds that we needed it to be a Tika all Tika Final Three in order for us to have any chance against anyone else in the game. Because for me, I did think I could beat them, and maybe that was wrong, but I do think my relationships with a lot of the jurors were a lot stronger than both of them because a lot of the information to them would feed through me. Anything
Hmm.
from RHAP would go through me, anything from Danny. And so I think I was seen as more of the face of Tika. And so that perception also caused there to be a larger target on my back. And so I think that like the three of us were working together and like even though like we were dysfunctional, we would end up pulling through. What was your question?
How did you get Jam Jam not to want to vote out
Oh
Carolyn
yeah,
when he
sorry.
wanted to do?
Oh yeah, that feeds into
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, but I think that like my thing was I could beat them, but I needed them to believe that Lauren and Heidi would have gotten any other votes because Ratu loved loved Lauren, and she has an
Sure.
amazing family story. And then Heidi, I thought she was easier to take further because she wasn't as keen on a lot of the votes, and it would be easier to take her out. Turned out to be the opposite, so that was a fault on my part. But I really wanted to get in their minds that we needed to be the three of us based off loyalty to have a chance, and I thought that that would be the best thing going forward for me. And so really also I had immunity and I could put my foot down because no one could vote me out. So
Yeah, that's a nice card to have. Okay, so we saw in the game, it was really amazing to watch at times where it was like, well, why is this person telling Carson things? Why is this person telling Carson things? And I feel like it was sort of like an underrated superpower that you had where it seemed like that people just could not stop sharing information with you. Was that something that you did consciously, or did you find that that was just that you felt like that people were just doing it without you having to do much?
I think that it really was a effect of the relationships I was building with everyone. Even at the beginning of the merge, I had a close alliance with Matt and Franny. We were the Dorcas. I had an alliance with Kane. We were the Golden Doodle Alliance. Lauren and I were extremely close, like as friends on a personal level. And then obviously me and Tika, I was friends with Brandon, and even Danny and I didn't expect me and Danny to be like friends out there, like in terms of like working together, but we ended up being these like tribal leaders that would go to each other and be like, well, we need to work together this time, even though we know we're going to turn on each other eventually. So it was interesting. Like I would really focus on building those relationships. And a lot of times I would make people feel comfortable that like I was with them 100%. And a lot of times people didn't know where my votes were going. And so they thought I was still with them. And I remember getting back from, for example, the Brandon vote out, and Franny believed that I voted for Brandon, and then the Soka members believed that I voted for wait, oh my gosh, I'm getting confused. The Soka members believed I voted for Brandon, and then Franny believed I voted for, oh my gosh, oh sorry, and then Ratu and then believed I voted for Franny. So it's just a mess. So even like after even after Franny's vote out, like I was always able to do that damage control afterwards and make people still feel like I was working with them, and like that, even like telling Jamie, for example, that Kane was actually playing the blindsider, and that I even told her, I said, he was planning to use knowledge pits power against you. And I didn't even know that happened until the next day. And then I was like, oh, well, that's a great story. But yeah.
Well, Carson, you have such a great recall for this most days. And I'm really interested to know from you that I'm sure you've played this back. Like, where do you feel like that you could have made a different move that results in you winning the game?
Yeah. I mean, I really was banking on not dropping that ball at Samotion, honestly. Really the reason I was so set on taking Tika far and like instead of Lauren or Heidi also was that I thought I could convince Lauren or Jam Jam to turn on each other and take me to the final three versus anyone else. And so I was banking on either me or Jam Jam or Carolyn winning that final for immunity challenge or not Heidi, and turned out Heidi, the worst case scenario for me, won. And so I always thought about like, could I have switched Lauren and Heidi and changed the outcome? But I don't know. I think I would have really needed to either change the perception of me as the front runner and be able to own that at the end. But I don't know. That's the thing. I have zero regrets, and I'm not sure if there's anything I could do to really change the outcome.
Did you subscribe to the theory that we were shown the fire in your glasses repeatedly to foreshadow your eventual loss in the Final Four Firemaking?
I hope that was something fun they did. I loved hearing that. Like it kind of put an ease on me because it was like, okay, like people are expecting this now. But I definitely at the beginning of the game, the first episode where they show me lose fire or like not do fire well, I was like, okay, yeah, this is gonna be a theme. But it was fun. I kind of like enjoyed the fun of it, and I hope that it was intentional, because if it was, super fun editing choice, like little Easter eggs. I'm all for that. That's why I wrote everything in NASA fonts.
Yes, no, that was really cool too. Okay, did you practice some motion?
I didn't. I did think about the timing though, and I would do like little balls and put them on wheels. Here's the thing about Samotion, and which was really interesting, is that the two different sides, and like go at the same speed. So if one finishes in like 1 second, the other might finish in 1.5 seconds. And so that made it so difficult to time. And I didn't realize that. And so that was one of my biggest issues doing it, is I was very like, I was splitting it up into like certain seconds and then dividing into like time intervals, but one of the sides was different, and that made it so much harder to think of from a logical perspective. And I think it would have been easier if had I gone in without trying to think of it that way.
Okay, Steven had some questions about this. I'll play this for him, so he will get those answers. Okay, now so much was made about the 3D printing and all of the prep that you did before the season. Was that a blessing and a curse for you?
I love the 3D printing. I thought it was really fun, like in terms of having all the puzzles like known and stuff. It honestly boosted my confidence a lot of times going into challenges. Even if I didn't know the puzzle, like I was like, oh, okay, I can do this, like, because I've done all the other puzzles. I just, knowing so many of the puzzles gave me a lot of self-confidence going into stuff that I was like, okay, it's a puzzle. I feel better on those than anything else. But I feel like it helped a lot of my game in terms of giving me security at Final Five. I think it could have been me. I think Carolyn and Jam Jam might have turned on me at that point. Even Carolyn was even considering it.
Yeah. I mean, as far as, sure, blessing in the game, but outside the game, the response to the 3D printing of the puzzles, that did you feel like that people got very upset about that?
You know, they might have. I really don't like read a lot of it, if that makes sense. But if I totally
in that case, nobody was upset about that, Carson.
I'm sure people were. I'm sure if someone's upset about it, like, cool, yeah. I think like, hey, hate the game, not the player. Like, I just did the best I could with
that's what they say,
the resources I had. So I think that, like, going forward, I hope that they do change a lot of the puzzles to not be as commonly seen previously. However, like, I'm proud of myself for breaking the game if I did, and if people are annoyed, sorry
for you. Yeah. Okay. And then Carson, I know you have so much going on as in your career and everything that you were wanting to do. So is playing Survivor again, much like your tribe mate Bruce, is that something that is especially interesting to you?
I would love to. It's crazy because before I started the game, the day before I started the game, I did my final interview with NASA Johnson Space Center for for their Pathways program, which converts you to a full-time position when you graduate school. And I started the game and I was late to the interview. I thought I did horrible. And so I started the game thinking, I just ruined my career. I didn't. I just ruined my career. I played this game. I was late to this interview. I did terrible. I had a 1 in 3 shot. I was so upset, and I was going through so much emotionally in my head. And like, I don't know, that might have translated to TV. I'm not sure. But when I returned home from Fiji on the airplane, the first thing I did was pull out my phone, and I got the acceptance for the program, and I just was weeping at the airport. The entire cast was like hugging me. So I don't know, like, I'm like, would I risk my potential for a career at this point for it again? Maybe, because I love the game. I don't know. It would just have to work well. I wouldn't. It's really hard to do with school, even though it sounds like, oh, it's easy. I found it really distracting. So I don't know. I'd have to weigh both options. But I love the game so much. I can't imagine saying
we
no.
can tell. We can tell. Yeah. All right. Well, Carson, thank you so much. I do hope that we can have the chance to talk a bit longer about your game down the road. But until then, all the best and congratulations on a great season.
Thank you so much, Rob. It's so fun talking to you.
All right. Take care, buddy. Bye.
Thanks.